Hey guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're gonna make this Tres Leches cake, which is originated from South America / the Latin American area. It's a soaked sponge cake, which is Tres Leches. This means 3 milks. Bake the sponge cake. We're gonna soak it with the 3 different kinds of milks, and then we're gonna finish it off with a little bit of fresh cream. It's very delicious. First, I want to start with preheating the oven. I'm going to preheat my oven on 200 degrees fan bake. That means I have top heat, bottom heat, and the fan assistant. We prepare our tray. I just use a little bit of oil spray just to stick the paper on. If you don't have one of those at home, you can just use a little bit of regular oil, or you can just leave it plain as it is as well. I'm using a deep tray because I want to soak the cake afterwards. Therefore, I'll need the deep tray so the liquid doesn't spill out on the sides. I've prepared myself one of those square baking molds. I'm gonna secure this with these little clips. This way it's gonna help me to just stay in place. If you have a round spring form, you can do a round version of it. If you have a fixed one, you can do a fixed one. I just have this on hand. Just make sure that it's deep enough because the sponge cake's gonna rise quite a bit. Perfect. The tray is prepared. I put this aside. I'm gonna start by separating my eggs. You wanna make sure to have the egg white and the egg yolks nice and separated. It can happen that there is slight stains of the egg yolk in your egg whites. You have to make sure to get this out. You can just use a regular spoon and just scoop it out as much as you can. All right, both of my eggs are separated. I have my egg whites, I have my egg yolks. You want to add sugars to both of them. Start mixing the whites first and then using the same whisk for my egg yolks. If you want to do it the other way around, it wouldn't work because you have the fat of the yolks on your whisk and then you can't use the egg whites anymore. If you have a separate hand mixer or you want to whisk it by hand, then you can do that too. It just takes a little bit longer. For my recipe, I'm using vanilla paste. You can use fresh vanilla as well if you have them on hand, and you can add those straight to the egg yolks. I'm scaling my flour and my baking powder together in the same bowl. So I sift them together through. That way the baking powder is nice and submerged in the flour and you don't risk of having any lumps in your batter. Last but not least, my lemon, just with my little zester. Everything for my Tres Leches cake is weighed up now. I have my egg yolks with my sugar and my vanilla. I have my egg whites with sugar. I have my regular full cream milk. I have my flour with baking powder, lemon, and salt in one bowl. I'm gonna start whisking the egg whites until stiff peaks and our egg whites are nice and firm. This is the test you can do. The egg whites should be stable in your bowl. Then I'm gonna whisk the egg yolks until nice and foamy. All right, our egg yolks are pale and fluffy. Now I'm gonna be adding my milk first to the egg yolks and then I'm gonna add all this flour in too. This is what we're aiming for. It's still nice and aerated. And at last, I'm gonna put the egg whites through the egg yolks. You wanna be very gentle, but also quick with this step, so just don't over whisk it. And now we're gonna pour all of this into our tray, spread it out, and ready to go in the oven. To spread the butter, I've prepared myself a dough card. If you have a palette knife or a spoon, will do the job just as well. You want to make sure it's nice and even, but also don't lose too much time over it because the quicker it goes in the oven, the better it is. I give it a quick tap just to make sure it's even and straight it goes in the oven. Our sponge is about baked for 25 minutes. While it's in the oven and we're waiting, we're gonna prepare the soak, which means we need the condensed milk, the sweetened ones. I need the evaporated milk and I'm gonna use my full cream milk as well. We're not using any sugar in our soak because the condensed milk, the sweetened part of it is so sweet that we don't need to add any additional sugar. I'm just whisking this through and I put this aside and wait for our sponge cake to be finished out of the oven and cooled down to be able to soak it. Alrighty, our timer is over. The sponge cake is ready and we're now gonna take it out and check. What we're gonna check is we're gonna gently push on top. It's nice and firm. You have the resistance here, which means it's cooked all the way through. If you have part where you would sink in or it feels very, very wobbly, that means it's a little bit underbaked and you still wanna continue baking it. This is very nice. And now we're gonna put it outside on a rack to let it cool down. Alright, our sponge cake is now nice and cold. First, I'm using a small knife to cut my cake out of the rails. You want to make sure to cut all the way into the corners, otherwise when you lift up your rails you will break the corners. I'm gonna slide this off my tray now, but I'm gonna keep this because I want to use this again. For portioning, I'm using a serrated knife. It's just the best for having a biscuit like a sponge cake. I'm sliding my cake back into the tray and put the rails back around it. All right, back in the tin, we're now gonna dock our cake. If you don't have this device at home, you can just use a fork and just poke holes into your cake. Now I'm using my prepared cream and ladle it on. With this step, it's very important to put enough in the corners so all your pieces are soaked equally. And now we're gonna put it in the fridge and let rest for at least 4 hours. Make sure to put a tray underneath, just in case, if you over soak it. Alrighty, after about 4 hours, our tres leches is nice and soaked. Now we're gonna decorate it. Very standard, very traditional is whipped cream / heavy cream. You can just spread it on top or you can pipe it. I prepare myself a piping bag with a metal nozzle about this size. I use the biggest one I have available. For my whipped cream, I'm using 2 different creams. One is thickened cream, which is in Austria called Schlogowers. And I'm mixing heavy cream with some double cream. I just do this out of stability purposes because this is much fatter, also has more structure and is more stable. I'm using equal parts, 400 and 400 grams of both of the creams, and I'm gonna add about 150 grams of icing sugar just to make it a touch sweet. For the icing sugar, you always want to sieve it because it has a lot of lumps. I'm using my whisk attachment and put it in the stand mixer. With the whipping cream, I want to whisk it but not take it all the way to the end and finish it off with my hand. That way I can control the consistency, the texture and the stiffness 100%. Don't overfill your piping bag. It's much easier if it's not full. Now I'm gonna pipe 3 dots on the bottom, 4 on the top. That way it looks nice and full. Now I'm going to create a little bit of lemon on top just for a finishing touch. All right, let's try a piece of our tres leches. This is super tasty. If you enjoyed watching this video, leave a like, subscribe for more amazing recipes. Leave me a comment if you have any questions. Enjoy!